It's September 24th, 2018, and you're watching Nick Drinks at Night. On this episode, we talk to founder and CEO of Brew Export, Shannon Long, sample some Oktoberfest beers, chat with Travis Fritz of Old Nation Brewing, visit Parktoberfest in Detroit, and of course, all the news and events of the week. And I'm Booze Bunny, here to make this show more palatable for you, the home viewer. And now, the host and most important person of all, Nick Britsky.
Hey everyone, welcome to Nick Drinks. I am your host, Nick Britsky. Booze Bunny, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. How have you been?
No problem, my friend. Things are going quite swimmingly so far.
As always, as always. So I see that you still have your Spartan garb on. Did you appreciate the game this weekend?
Oh yes, they are 1-0 after we were on the show together with the nice folks at North Peak. So I think we have to keep this on to keep the streak going.
Wonderful.
Old brass spittoon. That's what they
good.
won.
I like that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You're welcome.
Well, we'll keep on the scarf as long as they keep that streak going. So that'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Any other interesting stuff happened this weekend?
Well, you've heard of the swine flu?
Oh yes.
Well, I've got a bunny bug, so so I'm going to make sure I try to keep everything inside of me this week. No drinking for Booze Bunny today.
Well, I'm also under the weather, so I'm going to try to kill it with alcohol.
That's also, that's also a smart choice too.
We found out that this liter Stein holds 4 regular bottles of beer, so that's lovely.
Yep. You'll be a busy boy tonight.
I will. All right. Well, we are still waiting on some technology to upload. So in the meantime, we are just going to head over to some news in a second. Just drink. There we go. Some news of the week. All right. Well, the very first story we have this week is the research has been gathered through Secret Hopper, which is a research company, and it's reported through the craft brewing business that women are 6.9% more likely to spend more at breweries than men.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
That's a very specific percentage.
Well, the numbers get more specific. The average amount per trip is 44.18 cents for women and 41.31 cents for men.
Oh, that's actually, I find that interesting. So you think the bigger boys who drink more. I'm Nicholas, good factoids there. Thank you very much.
What I'm wondering is maybe are women getting better products so they're spending more?
Ooh, very interesting.
So yeah. Or it could be with bigger groups, but that necessarily would screw up the averages.
Bachelorette party.
Yeah. So do note that men are 70% of the drinking market, so there is a little discrepancies kind of right there. All right, let's move on to story number 2. This one is out of the BBC. The Scottish Distillers Association want vodka and gin to have the same protection as Scotch whiskey. So this will ensure that consumers aren't, quote, duped, since there's been a boom in both vodka and gin production in Scotland.
Thank you for the Scotchtoberfest update on that, too. I appreciate that.
So wait a second. So now all of my news stories have to be based in October?
Pretty much, yep.
It's not even the real the month yet. We're still September, Germany.
Oh, Germany. You lost the war. Forgot how to count months, huh? Classic.
Classic Germany. From The Guardian, and I am going to pronounce his name. I apologize. Idris Elba. He's planning on opening a luxury. Was that close?
He's pretty a famous guy.
Well, then how do we pronounce the name?
This gentleman, Tom Cruise, was in a movie called Mission Impossible.
So he's opening a luxury bar so posh people in London can hang out. It's going to be called The Parrot, and it actually offers chauffeur-driven Aston Martins, a hidden cocktail menu, and it may even feature DJ sets because he is a DJ himself.
Wow, DJ Idris Elba, Nick.
Idris, yeah. I'm not good. You wait till the German section coming up. I'm going to butcher a lot of things this episode. All right, next story we got. Fans of the Saw movie series are excited to hear that the 3rd movie has premiered last week, and it is available for download now. We are chatting with them to try to get them to do a premiere in Detroit. Stay tuned on that. but I am a huge fan of this movie series.
What is, I have no clue what this movie series is.
You uncultured rabbit.
Well, you can't count months. Oh, Germany.
Don't make me laugh. Need beer. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
So the Saw movie series,
Ooh,
the first
boy.
one charted a couple different sommeliers that were trying to get their certification.
Oh, Sam, I thought you said like Saw, like those horrible horror films.
No, but a mashup between the two could be pretty interesting.
Saw 27. Wine? I don't know.
The whining?
The wine? Yeah, okay.
So that was number one. Number two followed some of the producers. So number three is actually bringing in some of the press.
Wow.
So you're going to see one of my favorites, Wine Folly, Madeline, and she's going to be a big part of the show.
Ooh, good. That's great.
You talk like you have any idea.
No clue. Do I watch this on like YouTube or like a reel-to-reel 8-bit tape player? Like how do I watch
Betamax?
this?
Yeah, no, you actually can download it. I believe it's on Amazon, but it might be on iTunes too, so check that out.
Laserdisc?
Maybe Laserdisc was a great
I'm
format.
exclusively Laserdisc now.
I have Star Wars on Laserdisc.
Good. That's probably a great investment. I'm sure your wife is proud of the space that takes up.
Oh, we got a thumbs up. All right, final story. Founders Brewing Company is in the headlines for quitting the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce after the group, the chamber, endorsed Governor Hopeful Bill Schuette.
Oh, wow.
The reasoning is basically his non-support of the LGBTQ community. And this has really polarized the internets. And, that's interesting. So people like, do they stay out of politics? Do they get involved? Really quick, what do you think?
I mean, like, it's always kind of big for these businesses to be in Chamber of Commerce. I am quite interested by this story. That's a bold move for them.
Right. Definitely kind of throwing their weight around. So we'll kind of see where this goes.
Chamber of Commerce's Chamber of
Commerce?
Commerce.
Yeah.
They're very powerful things. So this is very interesting.
Very interesting. All right. Well, Booze Buddy, thank you so much for this week.
No problem.
Go get some rest.
You too.
All right. Let's head over to our events segment, shall we? So welcome to the calendar segment. This is where we cover all the cool boozy events that are happening in Metro Detroit this week. Quick late programming note. This week is Brandy Week. So there are no events happening in Metro Detroit. I'm not sure if it's because we're uncultured rabbits. But
Let's say Brandy is a fine week. We now have to pay licensing rights.
no, we have rights. We can
Oh,
say
thank
that,
God.
yeah.
Okay, we've got the master tapes. Good. I'll see you later. Bye.
So it's a lot of stuff's happening in New York. Check that out. But let's move off to our first event. This is Wednesday, September 26, 2018. The Bubble Tea beer release is happening at One-Eyed Betty's. So this event happens from 6 p.m. to 11:30 at night on Wednesday. It's a partnership between the Detroit Bubble Tea as well as Ascension Brewing. They're in Novi. So they're going to be serving both a regular and a frozen version of the beer, but it's going to be in bubble tea fashion. So you're going to have some boba and some straws. Interesting take on beer. Not sure what I think about it yet. Facebook for more details. They're also going to be doing a special edition of Quizzo. Next, we're going on to Schramm's Mead. They're doing their 5th anniversary party in Ferndale. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Check that out at Schramm's. Moving on to Friday and Saturday, Oktoberfest Street Party in Ann Arbor. This is happening Friday and Saturday. Live music, games, traditional German beer. That'll be lovely. On Saturday, September 29th, Oktoberfest at the Detroit Shipping Company. Get it? This happens from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Over 14 Michigan and U.S. brewers are going to be there. Live activities, plenty of swag, and the restaurants are getting into the action with German-themed food. So $7 gets you a drink token. Finally, the big news that's happening. This is October 1st through 7th is Detroit Cocktail Week. This is the biggest week on my cocktail calendar. There's going to be 19 events happening throughout the week. It culminates with Detroit Cocktail Classic on Friday. It's going to take over 2 sheds in the market, 46 different cocktails from people that you can test. You actually can get a discount to tickets if you type Nick Drinks when you check out. So that'll give you $10 off. And I will be at that event along with Teak Life and Cocktail Detroit. They're going to be with me next week to talk more about it. We're going to do a live show, cover everything. It's going to be wonderful. So that's what we got for events for this week in September. Nick Drinks at Night is going to be right back after a few messages. No, we're not. Take that back. We have a video that is in my head that we're going to play for Detroit Cocktail Week. Take it away, Seth. I'm watching this for the first time. I just noticed my wife and I are in that video, so that's pretty exciting. Well, we are going to head out to our commercial break. Make sure to come back because we have Travis from Old Nation, and we're going to be talking about all things Oktoberfest. Stick around, everyone.
I love wine, and for the past 30-some years, I've had some fabulous wines and a lot of mediocre ones. Now, I've decided to only drink the best. And I'm doing it with people who are experts on wine, who are enthusiasts, or who work with wine in various ways. They get to choose their favorite bottle, and it has to cost between $30 and $300 US. Chin chin. And then we drink it, and then we talk about it. I have an Italian wedding going on in my mouth right now. There's a party in here right now. This is the Fine Wine.
Hello and welcome to the Velveteen Lounge Kitchen. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Paul.
And on our show, we're all about showing that good cocktails can easily be made at home by anyone. We combine cocktails and comedy, along with the occasional boozy music video and visits to fabulous bars throughout the country.
We're coming to you 3 times a week. Mocktail Mondays, a regular cocktail episode Tuesdays, and on Thursdays,
our infamous Liquored Up live broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook. It's quite a party, so you won't want to miss it.
see you soon.
Nope. All right, we are back. We have Travis Fritz here.
Good to see you, Nick.
Good to see you too.
Really good.
So you are the chief bottle washer at Old Nation Brewing?
I think that's on my Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah. I do whatever needs to be done. My partner Rick and I started it a couple, 3 years ago.
All right, well, let's back up way far.
Yeah.
Well, here, first, cheers. Oh, we have these lovely ceremonial boots.
Prosit.
Yes. Oh, say it again.
There's a prosit if you're fancy. Prost if you're not.
Prosit.
Yeah.
Ooh. Because on Nick Drinks, we are fancy.
There you go.
All right, let's back up. What was your first beer?
The first beer I enjoyed was a Hefeweizen from Eyinger Brewery in Bavaria.
So this was in the motherland. You drank that first beer there.
Yeah, I was living in Munich, and my host grandmother took me there after Mass one Sunday.
Do I dare ask how old?
I was 16.
Okay.
Of legal drinking age
Yeah,
in Germany.
right, right.
Yeah.
All right. So you have this great history of learning in Germany how to brew.
Yeah.
How did you like embrace beer? Like, was it something that when you went over to Germany, was it something before then? What got you into beer?
Yeah, I think it was two things. I'd learned how to speak German and then went on a scholarship in high school to learn more. And I think the language maybe drives the person towards beer, right? It's a different drinking culture there. So I think the culture there really got me into beer. And then I kind of left it alone for a little while and ended up back there in college and sort of by happenstance became a brewer in college.
So in high school, you learned German.
I did, yep.
So I learned French. I could have been like a brie monger.
I mean, if one can dream, I think.
So all right, so you're doing this. You're leaning heavily into beer. What did your parents think about this decision?
The decision came pretty organically. So I actually went over there to study food science, not beer specifically.
Oh.
And I was recruited into a brewing program because I could lift a keg. I mean, honestly, that's pretty much where it was. I wasn't German. They needed foreigners, and I could lift a keg. And
So it's all the skinny guys that took the program. You were like
ready to go.
the strength.
Ready to go. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I let them know, hey, I'm not going to be paying as much for school. They're offering me some relief in tuition, and they said, that's great. Beer sounds great.
And approximately what year is this?
This has been 2001.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So did you get your first brewing job there, or did you have to come home to do that?
So I was an apprentice there a little bit, which means you bounce around unpaid and just do all the cleaning grunt work that nobody likes to do. But my first real job as a brewer where I was paid and had some path forward was here in the States.
Okay, and what was that?
So that was at the Michigan Brewing Company when it existed back in the day. For about a year, I worked under Pierre Celis, who's among brewers, a really famous Belgian brewer.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hoegaarden is the brand that he did that most people know. Yeah.
Very good. And so you get to Germany from school.
Yeah.
How would you think their training is different from the training you would have received in the States?
Well, at that time, certainly the training, there wasn't much here in the States. You kind of, you homebrewed, and then if you got some money together, you could open a brewery, and that was the deal, right? Which is its own kind of cool.
So it was all hands-on then?
It was all hands-on. In Germany, it's very theory-based, but it's also a trade, like being a carpenter or a plumber would be. So there are things that you just need to know how to do that apply all over.
Okay.
And those are kind of the fundamentals that I think sometimes get skipped over in places where there's not formal education for any trade. And so I think that's probably how it was different. I had a decent base of knowledge when I came back here to the States.
Do you think that gave you a leg up then when you came back to the States?
I do, but I think maybe I would have, but at that time, again, it just wasn't that competitive. There wasn't much going on. There'd already been a pretty big bubble burst here in Michigan. It had just happened in 2002, 2003. And so there's lots of room for brewers to come in.
So how did you get from Michigan Brewing Company to Old Nation Brewing?
So Michigan Brewing Company for a little while, as I say, and then I kind of bounced around and learned under a lot of different brewers. Again, this is this apprentice journeyman kind of thing. So George Murphy at Arcadia, Dan Rogers at Michigan Brewing Company, a number of other people got a job at the Detroit Beer Company and then later became a partner there and took off. Did some brewing of lager beer, largely German beer for a while, and then started Old Nation Brewing Company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had this little tiny beer
Yeah.
called M43.
Yeah, that's one, yeah.
So this is a beer that really put you on the map,
It is, yeah.
and it probably funded a lot of these other creations.
Completely.
So what was kind of that aha moment for that beer?
You looking at these beer enthusiast pages, these Facebook pages, wherever these folks were talking about this kind of New England IPA and can anyone do it?
What year?
This had been 2016, late 2016,
Oh,
about
okay,
this
yeah,
time
yeah,
of the year.
okay.
And we said, we can probably figure this out. Got together with these guys, made one. They didn't like the first one that much. Listened to them, made the second one. They really liked it. And then we kept selling out of that beer again and again and again. So I guess maybe the third time we sold out was probably the aha moment.
So if people haven't had the beer, talk about what kind of beer that is.
Sure, New England IPA is an IPA generally in that it uses a great deal of hops. What it doesn't do that most IPAs do is use a great deal of hops for bitterness. So smoothness and a rounder mouthfeel is important. Generally the hops that we're using are sort of the flavors of tropical fruit. So mango, citrus certainly, those kind of flavors. It's a different, it's almost bad that it's called an IPA really. It's kind of like a highly hopped wheat beer almost. Yeah.
But you have that haze from the wheat.
You had the haze, from proteins in the wheat and actually fats from the oats and oils from the hops.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that beer We're gonna hang back on this question because I want to ask you that later.
Right on.
So was that the first beer at Old Nation or Old Nation?
No.
Or, so what came before that?
Oh, lots of different beers. We had a full stable of 5 really traditional English and German beers that no one cared about at all. It's
Has that changed? Are those coming back?
Yeah, it has.
Okay.
Yeah, it has a little bit. I think, Michigan's really competitive, so in order to get into the market, you can't just make a good, solid 5% beer that tastes like a lot of other 5%
Sure.
beers, right?
So all right. So M43 is still doing its thing. It's still kicking butt. Now we come to what you currently have. What are we drinking here?
This is the Cart Horse. I thought this was appropriate, not only because we released it and I'm trying to sell it on your show, that's one, but also because, to be completely frank, we're using the grain bill on this. So the malt that we're using is based on a Vienna recipe.
Yeah, it's lighter.
Yeah, Vienna Marts and Oktoberfest are more or less the same style of beer. And so I thought it would be appropriate. It's that kind of Munich Vienna malt based, really biscuity kind of malt bill there.
So I feel like kind of a good topic right now, currently in the industry, is talking about kind of diversity and making sure that everyone has a fair shot at this.
Absolutely.
What are your kind of takes on the current industry and how diverse it's doing right now?
I think a quick look around the industry, any survey at all would tell you that more diversity is necessary,
Sure.
right? Diversity in ideas comes from diversity in people.
Yeah.
And ultimately, for Old Nation, we've made it a point to try and find as many different folks as possible. And now we're in a position where we can actually broadcast that. So we're hiring in, finally, I don't know how ridiculous this sounds, but if you know the beer industry, finally, women on the brew floor, which has been sorely lacking in brewing for, I guess, hundreds of years, but certainly the last 15 that I've been brewing. And
Now, dare I ask, is it because the talent wasn't out there, or was it because boys club? Do I dare say that?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. It's certainly the talent's been out there, but I think the talent was in a weird kind of nascent phase, and I think that women quite often got put into roles that weren't revolving around physical labor or science for whatever reason. But we find that that's ridiculous, and the more we interact with folks of kind of all races and genders and all of that, the more we find solid, well thought out ideas that have some diversity. Yeah.
And I think from that story we see that there's definitely the public there to consume it.
No question.
So that's
Yeah.
great. Talk about what's next. I know in previous events we've talked about Pilsners.
Yeah.
And really getting that great, really hard to make beer.
Yeah.
What are you guys working on next?
So water is a big part of Pilsner. Detroit has maybe the best lager brewing water in America, certainly in North America. And I'm looking to go down there to make some. We're now making M43 out of a facility in Detroit.
Great.
And for me, that's a selfish springboard to be able to make a Pilsner finally and see what people think, to be completely frank.
Well, I'm so ready for it.
Yeah, right on.
How can people find out more about you?
Old Nation, so I believe it's oldnationbrewing.com. I wish I knew more. Our Facebook page. I'm in the brewery most of the
I
time.
make good beer, all right?
Right, yeah, that's what I do. Old Nation Brewing is the name of the company. You can find it. You Google that. It'll be
love it.
there, I think.
Well, thank you so much for coming
Nick,
out.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much,
it.
man. I really appreciate it.
We're going to bring back Travis in a little bit as we talk about some Oktoberfest. He's going to help me pronounce all the German words. And but until that, we are going to head off to a field trip now. We are here at Parktoberfest, the 4th year. I'm here with David Cowan from the Detroit Downtown Partnership. I got it? All right. And we are here enjoying Oktoberfest on a lovely fall evening in Detroit. We're at Lumen and Beacon Park, and this is the 4th year. Tell me why you guys were in Campus Martius. You came over here. Why did you pick Beacon Park?
This is the 4th year for Parktoberfest. I cannot even believe it has been, we've had 4 of these. It started off with just a few hundred folks, and now it's grown to over 10,000 people coming out a weekend. We were in Campus Martius last year. We opened Beacon Park the same year, and we wanted to expand and grow over here to this side of downtown and give some attention to the western side. And it's just a beautiful brand new public space. And Lumen, the restaurant actually that we're sitting on the rooftop of right now, they are the owners of Griffin Claw as well, which is a fantastic Michigan beer. As he concurs. Yes, it's all about food and music. We have local bands all the way up to headlining bands like Vertical Horizon, who plays this evening here at Beacon Park, and really about beer, about food. We actually have a kid zone where we do a Faygo root beer garden, so a little bit of something for the family.
And I think I really appreciate the Kids Zone trying to blend an event that really is a drinking event and an adult event with a family focus, with the Kids Zone, the music, the things like that. When you go and program some of these events, how do you think of bringing kids and family in?
Well, we're all about intergenerational components to our events. So we find that events are most successful when we've got all ages, all backgrounds, socioeconomic, geographic, racial. So we want to bring everybody together to enjoy each other, really. We even have a big decorated tent that you can see right behind us that is got hops wreaths, like true Munich style tent. It's decorated in blue and white, so just a fun place to take a seat and have a beer or two. That's right. We have over 1,600 events a year at all of our downtown Detroit public spaces, and we manage over 400,000 square feet of public space in the downtown, so we're highly visible. We produce events that are free and open to everyone. 95% of our events are free.
So this was year 4. Do you have any plans for the big year 5?
Big year 5. You know, eventually we would love to create a Parktoberfest where it is a park crawl, where you can get a beer passport and you can travel around throughout all the public spaces downtown and really participate in the whole thing at each public space. We've done that with the tree lighting. The tree lighting started off really 10,000 one year to 20,000. Last year we're up to 50,000 people. So just due to capacity, we had to expand the footprint for the tree lighting. And so I could see something similar for Parktoberfest in years coming.
So we have Josh Milson here. He is the beverage director at Lumen. Talk about your strategy for the beverage program at Lumen.
So at Lumen, we wanted to do something that was more approachable, a craft cocktail program, but something that was more approachable for the everyday consumer. We wanted a more entry-level price point, but still using quality components, but something we could do at higher volume. Our cocktail program, we wanted our beer to shine through a little more, being that we're sister company of Griffin Claw Brewing in Birmingham. We wanted to be a very beer-centered restaurant, so our food was designed to be very beer-friendly as far as pairing.
How did you program this event specifically?
We kind of partnered with Griffin Claw and Easttown Distributing, who does distribution for Griffin Claw. We wanted to offer a variety of different Oktoberfest options. So we have a few traditional German options, which we're drinking right now. Hacker Shore, Oktoberfest. We have Paulaner, Warsteiner, and then a lot of options from Griffin Claw. Some of their smaller batch beers. We have Oblivious, it's a wheat wine. We have Dark Passenger, a sour strong ale. It's excellent. We're doing their Oktoberfest, obviously. Just a variety. We've got some like hourly keg tappings we're doing, so we're gonna have a variety of different stuff out here over the weekend. So.
This has been Nick checking out Parktoberfest for year 4. We encourage you to come check this out next year. And that's all we got here, so I'm going to send it back to the studio. Nick, back to you. Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate it. What a great outfit. You are a snappy dresser out there, Nick. So this is kind of the heart we want to talk about Oktoberfest, all the great beers that are available. The other reason why I wanted to really embrace this is I am at least 25% German, previously more, but now I'm down to 25%. Long story. And that is the Hildebrandt side of me. So with that, you know, it's in my bones. And so Oktoberfest has been done for over 200 years, started back in 1810. We'll talk a little bit about that. But what I also think is interesting is that Oktoberfest is just one party.
It is, yeah. The Oktoberfest is just the one party.
And that's just in Munich.
It's just in Munich, yeah, at the place called the Theresienwiese in the town. It's a big field.
Say that one more time.
Theresienwiese.
Okay, that's a good one. And so if you go to other cities, That's just Volksfest.
Yeah, the Volksfest is it's just harvest festivals essentially.
Okay.
This one had a reason. I mean, I think initially it was horse races, and they cut that out.
Yeah, so I think we were looking up in 1810. There was a marriage between the future King Ludwig
Sure.
and Princess Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they got married, and everyone was excited. And they're like, let's throw a party. So they throw a party. Everyone's out partying, and like next year they're like, well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And that just kept going for 200 years.
Yeah, big horse breeders. I know that they did. They had a horse race. That was like the big thing for the first few years, and then they realized that beer made them more money and was more fun.
So they brought back some of those events on the 200th anniversary, I believe.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was whatever that 2010.
Okay.
And they brought back some of that, and it sounded like some of that's still going, but not as much.
Right
you know?
on.
So now that we're 8 years later, but you know, looking at some of these things that happen here, you might see my traditional outfits. This is a trouch. Tracht.
Yeah.
Tracht. I was told I have the Klingon pronunciation of that word. And this is on loan from DJ Glockenspiel, aka Bob Walton-Spiel. So thank you so much for loaning me this, Bob. He's from Podcast Detroit. And of the traditional outfit, I don't know if we can get my pants on here. Let's see if we can kind of wander over. So these are Lederhosen, which just means leather pants. I mean, that was like a brainstorm for me. Oh my gosh. We got the traditional socks on here. We got the checkered shirt. We got the alpine hat, which is also called the Trick, starts with a T.
Oh, Tiroler Hut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tiroler Hut. I'm guessing. Hut is hat, I'm guessing.
Hut is that,
Yeah.
yep.
So I think what's great about German words is so many of them are related to English words. They're just like the angry version of the word.
I would say that that's a really good way to describe
Yeah.
it.
So on the ladies' side, they have a dress called a Drindel.
Dirndl.
And that is 3 to 4 pieces. There's a bodice. Here, we'll share.
Yeah.
There's a bodice or a mirdel,
Mida. Yeah.
a skirt or a rook,
Rock. Yeah.
okay, a blouse or a blouse,
Bluse.
and then I'm not even going to pronounce this one, an apron or a
Schürze.
shirtzel. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, the urban legend, and Travis said this is complete bunk, is that the sash on the women's outfit, if you tie it to the left, it means you're single, or the right, it means you're married or engaged.
I believe that it meant that at one time, but I think
We're done.
you don't want to assume. You don't want to make any assumptions.
No, exactly.
you know?
Please ask.
That's right. Please ask.
Please ask.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so we covered a lot of the history. So then when we talk about the beers that are actually served there,
Yeah.
The Fest beers.
Fest beers.
Fest beers.
Yep.
Party beers, right?
Party beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
And someone's calling me. This is great. So specifically, by German law, Reinheitsgebot.
Reinheitsgebot.
Close.
Yeah, I mean, that was
Ballpark.
pretty much
Ballpark,
dead. Yeah, that was right.
So basically, that is the German purity law. And that means that you can only include wheat, barley, or hops. And then eventually they added yeast.
Yeah, that's right. They added yeast. They didn't really know what the fermentation process was. They called it God is good. They just kind of accepted that it was and drank the beer. Yeah.
So those are the things that they allow. There's 6 specific breweries that are in the area that do that. There's also the regulation size of beer.
Yeah.
Later, this is called a Maß.
a Maßkrug.
Maßkrug.
Is the full name. Yeah.
And it says a skilled producer can, or a skilled server can do this, fill this in 1.5 seconds.
And a skilled drinker can drain it in 3. That's the joke. That's the joke they tell.
No,
Good.
not gonna happen. All right. So when they tap the beer, they say a specific phrase.
Zapft. That's hard.
There's so many.
Zapft ist.
There's so many consonants here.
Oh, zapft ist.
Oatsapt is, and they all like yell it, but you
Yeah.
said because they're so drunk, it's just like.
It just sounds like throat sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to see lots of costumes, lots of beer. There's dancing, parades, beer tapping, obviously food. In 2017, they served 7.2 million liters of beer, 7.2 million of these, which is almost 3 Olympic swimming pools full, and they had 6.2 million visitors.
Yes.
So any favorites that you see here, obviously yours. But
Yeah.
what's your second favorite?
The Augustiner, which is the one with the sort of foil on it.
You said you drank a lot of these as a kid?
I drank a lot of it as a kid.
Yeah?
I mean, let me clarify, as like a 16-year-old.
Right, as a legal kid
Not as like an
in
8-year-old
Germany.
kid. Right,
Yes.
that's right.
And Bell's is always good producing, getting their stuff out quickly. I actually had, Batch. I went to their party that was this weekend in
Yeah.
the Belt.
Those guys are great.
Roke does a great product down the road from my house. We got a Hackashore, of course, is one of the classics.
Yep.
So great solid beers. There's so many different things that you can try. They do move fast. Like I had trouble getting some of these now, and really Oktoberfest started just Saturday.
So this is our time to drink lager in
Yeah.
the United States, it seems like, right? We get one time a year. It's Oktoberfest. We get
Drink
the
it
really good lagers.
and get out.
Get out.
So, I mean, it's only 16 days, 16 to 18, depending on who you look at. So you really got to move quick. Boy, the last thing I have to look at is some food. You want
Yeah.
to try producing some food with me?
I'd be happy to tell you whatever you like about this food.
All right, half roast chicken.
That is Händel.
Okay. Pork knuckle.
That is Schweinhaxen or just Haxen.
Sugary roasted almonds.
Gebrannte Mandeln.
All right, 2 more. Funnel cake.
Kaiserschmarrn, which is not exactly funnel cake. Forget it.
Funnel cake.
Yeah, forget it.
All right. Last one, and you said this was your favorite, roast fish.
Steckelfish. It is
All
my
right.
favorite.
So thank you so much. Prost, everyone. Very good stuff.
Prost.
Check out these beers for the season. Go get them today. Go run out now. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Shannon Long from Brew Export and hear about her great stories. Cheers, everyone.
That was fun.
I love
Thank
wine.
you so much.
Thank you.
And for the past 30 some years, I've had some fabulous wines and a lot of mediocre ones. Now, I've decided to only drink the best. And I'm doing it with people who are experts on wine, who are enthusiasts, or who work with wine in various ways. They get to choose their favorite bottle, and it has to cost between 30 and 300 US dollars. Chin chin. And then we drink it, and then we talk about it. I have an Italian wedding going on in my mouth right now. There's a party in here right now. This is the Fine Wine.
Hello, and welcome to the Velveteen Lounge Kitchen. I'm Kelly,
And I'm Paul.
and on our show, we're all about showing that good cocktails can easily be made at home by anyone. We combine cocktails and comedy, along with the occasional boozy music video and visits to fabulous bars throughout the country.
We're coming to you 3 times a week. Mocktail Mondays, a regular cocktail episode Tuesdays, and on Thursdays...
Our infamous Liquored Up live broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook. It's quite a party, so you won't want to miss it.
See ya soon!
Me put my fake eyelashes on back in the good old days.
So we are back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Shannon Long here from Brew Exports. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I've missed you. It's been a while.
I know. So you quasi-interviewed me at Griffin Claw 5, 6 years ago?
Gosh, 3?
3? All
I'm
right.
not sure.
My math isn't great.
Years. No, yeah. Usually I'm on your side, interviewing.
my turn.
You're flipping it on me. I'm nervous. I'm sweating.
So you are the CEO of Brew Export.
I am. I started that company.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But so tell me, what was your first beer you had? Do you remember?
My first beer was probably something stolen from my parents' fridge at an age. We're not going to get into
That's
that.
fine.
It was
We don't
probably
have
not
to.
good.
No paper trail.
But my craft beer aha moment was I was a big Guinness drinker at Michigan State University. And I was at Crunchies in East Lansing.
Okay.
I sat down and I was like, can I have a Guinness? And she was like, no, we don't have any Guinness, but we have oatmeal stout on nitro from Founders. And I had that beer, and my everything imploded. There was lightning, there were stars, and that's when I was like, this craft beer thing, we're onto it, and that changed my life.
And what year did you go to Michigan State?
I graduated in December of 2014. Got 2 degrees there.
So I was there a little bit earlier, and I feel like it was still, the craft beer movement was still kind of happening. So I feel like you definitely got lucky with some of that stuff.
I had an ex-boyfriend that lived above Hopcat. So we were that helped. Hopcat, shout out to Hopcat. They helped create this monster.
Absolutely. So what convinced you to embrace beer as a job, as a source of income?
That's a great question. Well, I guess it kind of pairs into the story of starting Brew Export because I studied international relations was one degree, marketing was my other degree, and the professor basically said take one product and export it to one market and do a 50-page huge project on it. And I decided to do it on craft beer. You know, people were doing like peanut butter and water bottles of filter. I was like, we're doing this on beer. And in doing that and in doing all the research, I discovered one, the reason I wanted to start my company, but two, that this industry and the human beings that make up the craft beer industry are so creative and passionate. And I knew I wanted to be a part of this community.
And I think the connections to Travis studying language in school, you studying international relations.
Arabic. I studied Arabic in school.
And there are a couple Arabic beer companies, but not many.
No, it not useful in my current.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we'll get beer over there. I'm confident.
So, all right, so now you're doing this, you're opening this company. What do your parents think?
They're really proud of me.
That's good. Good to hear.
No, I couldn't have done it without them. They both have great business sense, and I give them props. And when I have crazy questions, and they've always been there for me, because there's days where I'm like crying and getting a little emotional about things, or just stressed, and then they're here for all the happy times too. So.
Oh, that's great. All right, so talk about Brew Export. What does it do?
Okay, so Brew Export, we manage the international sales for breweries located across the United States. At this point, we've exported for probably 70 different breweries located all over to 15 different countries. It's changing all the time. And you know, what I discovered in doing this thesis is that buyers from around the world want our American craft beer. We make really innovative, amazing beers, and a lot of these breweries, they would get these email inquiries and they would ignore them. Like I knew someone that had a spam filter for the word export. Now he exports beer all over the world.
Wow.
So they were turning down these international sales due to the perceived difficulty of exporting. So I kind of took all that heavy lifting off of them. The breweries make the beer. I purchase it from the breweries. They know where it's going, but send it all over, take care of the logistics, the compliance, the payment, all the kind of harder parts, and the breweries just get to make cool beer.
So that's great. So the company doesn't have to have any staff, anyone that do it. Basically, they get you beer and you push it out.
Exactly. Yeah, they make a normal production. I order from them just like it's one of their domestic sales.
So you have to worry about logistics and like shipping containers and things
Keeping
like that.
the beer cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you flying the beer? Is it in a boat? You are flying the beer.
So some of these beers take a nice little hop across the Atlantic Ocean via airplane. Those are some of the really, really hoppy beers that we want to get super fresh over there. But all of our containers, 40-foot, 20-foot containers, will go refrigerated, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit all the way over there, and they're happy. That beer's content.
So you have this little guy with us.
Yes.
Talk about this guy.
This is an example of a key keg. So we're not going to send the huge steel kegs because they're not going to get them back. Or logistically, it's challenging to get those steel kegs back. So these are completely recyclable, which is really important for me because I don't want to be adding more plastic to the world. But yep, fill these up, and they're one-time use, and they're very, very common. They have bars have a key keg coupler. It's not a Sankey D coupler, but the breweries can fill these, and the bars in Europe and all over the world can tap them, and they've worked out pretty well. This is a 20-liter.
Okay, and I believe wine's doing something similar too, right?
Wine, yeah, a lot of different industries use these, but this is, we use them for beer.
Very cool. So this great industry is going. You've won some awards.
I did.
Yeah.
The Michigan Department of Agriculture's International Marketing Program awarded me with the Rising Star Award.
That's
so
great.
I guess they think I'm going places.
So this little production company saw you, medium-sized production company saw you, and said, "Hey, we want to do this TV show with you." So talk about Pure Brews America.
Yeah, so there's like a whole other half to my life, which is a TV show that I hosted for the last 3.5 years or so. And yeah, Meijer was our wonderful sponsor, as well as Hopcat and a lot of other great partners. It aired on CBS across the state of Michigan, and I got to go to 70 different breweries across the Midwest, drink beer, and just learn so much about the beering industry here in the Midwest. And we won a Michigan Emmy Award for it. That was a proud moment. And yeah.
Little golf clap. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, that was an amazing experience. And I got to a point I had to pick. You know, I was running Brew Export, and I had this amazing TV show, and it was time to give it all to my baby Brew Export, which is turns 4 in March.
Wow.
So
TV show is on hold.
yes,
Okay, Brew Export, full steam ahead.
yes.
So, all right, talking about a little bit, continuing the theme of diversity. Beer seems to be mostly a lot of men, a lot of female, or a lot of men. Do you see a lot of that true as you go around the country, around the world?
Yes, definitely. I'm for sure a minority in this situation, but I'm okay with it. I've kind of accept it and embrace it. I think I went to my first craft brewers conference when I was 22 years old, which in hindsight I'm like, oh my gosh, you gotta be careful. But we handled it, and it's one of those things of being a female. I think in any industry that may be a little more male dominated, you got to put in your time. You got to prove yourself, and if you're confident and you know what you're doing, people believe in you. And I have some of the best mentors are all male, so girls are coming into the industry. There's more of us coming in.
Do you ever have anyone challenge you, and then once you kind of like give them a knowledge bomb, they're just like, oh, never mind, you got it?
I do that all the time. They'll just like assume this, cute young little girl that smiles all the time, and I probably scare them. But I love it though.
I think if you show them that you know it, you know where you're coming from, you know the industry, hopefully they're always going to respect you, but at least you've kind of made your point at that point. Yeah. So do you see it changing in the years that you've been doing this?
I think more and more females are coming in this industry, and especially in ownership positions, which I think is a really important part, as well as in the actual brewing process. And girls are awesome. So I want more of us in the industry, and craft beer is great, and we need more women promoting it and sharing it with their girlfriends.
So to the young ladies that are watching this program right now, what are your tips to encourage them?
Ooh. I would say just start sampling. I mean, you don't have to order full. You know what my biggest suggestion is? I would say when you're going to different craft beer bars, and our bartenders won't like me for saying this, but don't be scared to ask for a little sample, so you can get a little taste and then order the full thing. So you know what you're getting, and you kind of learn a little bit that way.
I think it's great. So what do you think is the worst part of your job?
So I never stop working. So the world is always, the UK is 5 hours ahead of me, China is 12, and it never stops for me.
How can people find more about you?
Brewexport.com.
There you go.
Boom.
On the word. All right, do you have a time to play a game with us?
I love games. Let's play a game.
So come on. So we were going to grab a couple volunteers from the audience, and God, we didn't even get to your beer. Why don't you pour your beer really quick for us?
We'll pour it while we're getting people down here. We're sending this beer to the Netherlands. It's a Bourbon Imperial Screaming Pumpkin from Griffencraw.
So what I wanted to talk a little about. Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Hello.
How's it going? I'll stand up. You want to stand?
No, come on right up here. And
what's your name?
Ron.
Nice to meet you.
Lindsay.
Nice to meet you.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Ron.
All right, perfect. So what I want to talk about is there's this great thing called Cicerone, and this is kind of how you get really familiar with beer. There's a couple different levels of it. Beer server is the basic one.
That's the one I have.
And that's what I have. Okay, so we both have the basic. This is the plus up. This is the full Cicerone, the little study kit that I have. And what I wanted to do is we have a mystery beer.
Okay.
And what I wanted you to do is we're going to pour it for our two lovely audience volunteers. And I want you to kind of talk through them, how you would kind of determine what this beer is.
Yeah, that's
All
great.
right, so let me get
you
you
know I
one,
had to
too.
do that on the TV show all the time.
Right, right.
Sampling beers and be like, what's the color? Oh, we'll get to that. Okay. Getting excited.
All right, Shannon, close your eyes, just so we don't. You
Hope
might
it's
be able
not
to
a hard
recognize it
one.
from the shape of the bottle.
Okay.
All right, so we got a beer here, a German beer. All right, Shannon, tell us how you would figure out what beer this is.
Okay. Well, it's a German beer, so smelling it first.
Yeah.
Well, I smell it, or you can hold it up to the light. So it's dark brown, but you can see through it.
Yep.
And the head on it is a little bit creamy.
Yep.
What does it smell like? Smoke. Oh, I know what this is. So smoky. Now give it a taste. Swish it around in your mouth and swallow. Beer drinkers always swallow. We don't spit out our samples.
Still tastes smoky.
Oh, this
Smoky.
is.
It's
Do you
very
guys like this beer?
I like it.
A lot of
I don't
people. This
like
is
a lot
kind of
of
a
smoky.
style that isn't necessarily loved by a lot of people.
No, I don't like a lot of smoky stuff.
Smoke. It's like earthy and smoky.
Wait, am I allowed to say it?
Well, how would
Oh.
you kind of get them to? I mean, if they don't know the beer styles, that's what's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's
so,
a mystery to me.
So it is a German style of beer, and it is a smoky beer. But if you don't even know the name of it, isn't it a Rauch beer? Yeah.
I know nothing
Didn't mess
about
it
that.
up. So that is a German style of beer that has this smokiness. But you know what I don't know, and we need to bring Travis back up here, is why it's smoky. Is it from the malt, or why is it smoky?
yeah, why don't we do a quick little lesson about that? Audience, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Awesome, thanks guys.
Come on up,
Great
Travis.
job. Yeah, Travis, fill us in. You're back.
Oh, here, there you go. Perfect,
I'm
there you go.
interested because I know you can get your malts can be chocolatey and all these
right.
different things, but this
Yeah.
is smoky, like bonfire smoky.
Right. So I had one of the guys I worked with that I was an apprentice for in Berlin said that beer tastes like someone left their ham in it.
Yeah, it's like
his thing,
bacon.
right? So it's the malt, right? It's Beechwood smoked. All beer tasted like smoke before about 150 years ago. So there was no beer that did not taste like that before. The only way to provide heat was to also incorporate smoke, right?
So was that kind of like Scotch? So
Yeah,
Scotch
a lot,
has kind of the
almost
peat?
yeah,
I
for
would
the
drink
same
a lot.
reason, right?
Okay.
So the fuel that they were using in Scotland was peat, and the fuel that they were using in Germany was beechwood.
I would drink a lot less
Yeah.
beer if they all tasted like
Man,
this.
I want this to be-
Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
I want this to be a
good.
lot more interesting than it is, but that's all it is, man. They just smoke them all, just like you do.
I mean, it's not an M43.
I mean,
you
what
know,
is? What
so-
is?
Have you done any of your Cicerone trainings?
I have not. No, I'm European Board of Brewing Chemists certified for
That sounds pretty fancy.
tasting. Yeah, so I haven't done Cicerone.
So I think it's very fascinating because we talked a little bit about the Somm movie, the sommelier, kind of the specially trained wine server and taster.
Sure.
Cicerone's the same concept for that, and I think it is super fascinating. I got to go through the full tasting experience, learn how to do some of these things, learn the flashcards, talk about the hop, the alcohol level, all those things. So I think it's fascinating. Is that similar thing happen in Europe?
It does. I mean, ultimately, as brewers, we're more concerned. Essentially, they're saying, you buy a beer, you buy a book, you read what it is, you taste it, and then you got it, right? That's essentially what this is. As brewers, we're concerned about any problems that might be in the beer and where they came from, right? And then how to get rid of those problems. So that's where we're coming from largely, but I think after 16, 17 years, it certainly is important to tune in and make sure you know what's going on.
So when you're exporting to some of these countries that don't have some of these beer styles, how do you teach them about some of this stuff? How do you introduce them to some of these things?
It is very fun. I have to say, I get to export, like we've sent glitter beer to Europe, we've sent all these New England style IPAs, and some of these beers are going there for the first time, some of these styles, and you're blowing people's mind. And that is probably the favorite part of my job, is just blowing people's mind with American craft beer.
And when you go over there, are there things that you taste that you're like, oh, we have nothing like that over here?
Okay, so I was in Barcelona, and it was what is the wine thing they drink out of where they
Yeah,
they
where
hold
they have the onions
Perone?
that they eat, and then they have the
and
pulled wine.
you have
Yeah.
to put your arms
Yeah,
straight.
it looks like a teapot, but glass.
Exactly, and they put sour beer in that, and it opened it up, and it was gorgeous. And I wasn't very good at it. I didn't even get a full arm extension, but that was a unique one for me.
Interesting. Now, is anything in Germany that really hasn't made it over here?
Most.
Most?
Which is actually like Cidra, which is, I think, what those are for, those little
Okay.
teapots, right? Sour, right? Cider. Essentially, Most is pear and apple cider. They just let spontaneously ferment. So it's really, really sour and really, really high in alcohol.
Like alambic, but not really.
I suppose. I mean, again, it's what cider was until 120 years ago, right?
Okay.
You take the apples you don't want to eat that are too ugly to eat. Essentially, you press them for juice, you let them ferment, and then that's what it tastes like.
Interesting. So you did a big trip to China.
I did. And I have a bigger trip coming up.
Okay.
I'm going to London for AGM with Brewdog, then up to Brewdog, then over to Iceland, then to the Netherlands, then to Brussels. Be gone, truly. I know. That's
He's
the way
so
I
impressed.
feel about it. But China, yes, I did spend a month in China too, which blew my mind a little bit.
And the beers I've had from China have been very, very basic.
Yes.
Is that how all of them are, or are there ones that just haven't made it over here?
I would say every country that I visited, like in Spain, there were great craft breweries popping up. In China, there's great craft breweries. In Taiwan, there's Taihu Brewing, which is one of the best breweries on the planet, in my opinion. So there are people out there mimicking their styles, and I think the coolest part about it is you use local ingredients. They use local ingredients. So things like tea, and even down south, I feel like we don't have a lot of plums in Michigan beer, but I was down south and they had tons of plums in their beer. So that goes for all over the planet. And great beers popping up, and actually at the Craft Brewers Conference, 17% of the attendees were from outside the United States.
Wow.
So if that kind of shows you where things are going.
Now, are they asking you to bring stuff in to America?
All the time. I get emails like probably once a week. And I'm an export girl. I share American beer with the world. I don't bring anything in here. That's a whole nother ball game, but maybe one day.
So you need like a Shannon in Germany, or
I need a
China.
I need like 4 Shannons, because then I could keep doing the TV show. I could import, and then I could just relax.
So for all the little girls out there that want to do this is perfect.
Come hang out with me.
Well, very good. So again, Cicerone's kind of fun to go check that out. That's unique. Same with all those great certifications out there. You can do for spirits, you can do them for wine, you can do all that, and it really helps. Talk about credibility.
I sat down at the bar and had a little book like this, and that's how I went through. I never went and got the actual level
the study guide,
certification, but the knowledge is there. It's just the time to go take the test. You know what I mean? And I think that's the way it is for a lot of people in this industry.
I'd say so, yeah.
Well, perfect. Thank you guys so
Thank
much for
you,
doing
thank
this.
you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for crashing my interview.
Of course, man. Happy to.
So that is it for Nick Drinks this week. Come back next week. We're going to talk all things Detroit Cocktail Week. We have tons of surprises, tons of guests, and there is a lot to see. So until next time, cheers, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Prost.
Cheers.